From the farm fields of Moldova to Ghana's Volta Lake fisheries, from a small repair shop in India to a tobacco plantation in Argentina, employers and trade unions are fighting to eradicate a worldwide plague, child labor. Since the creation of the ILO in 1919, trade unions and employers' organizations have worked both separately and together to bring an end to child labor. They are collaborating through tripartite social dialogue, the interactive conversation between employers, workers' organizations, and government. After almost a century of engagement in the ILO, employers' organizations and trade unions are finding ever more innovative approaches to successfully eradicate the worst forms of child labor worldwide. Starting in the late 1990s, the General Agricultural Workers Union, known as GAWU, an affiliate of Ghana's Trade Unions Congress, began to take action to eliminate the worst forms of child labor all across Ghana's vast agricultural sector and inland fishing community. For generations, children have worked the fisheries of Volta Lake, casting nets and diving down to free them, risking injury and death with every dive. Thanks to GAWU, more than 350 children in 10 communities around the lake have been taken out of child labor and placed in schools and vocational training programs of their choice. Many of the former child laborers now act as peer educators, explaining to other children the dangers of child labor.
To all those who are not in school, I urge them to at least learn a trade so that they can take care of themselves financially like I am doing now.
Come to all the areas where we have collective agreement in place. We have a clause in the collective agreement which is coined, and it says that it's the responsibility of both the employer and the union to ensure that child labor does not exist within the workplace. So we signed this, and then we are adhering to it, and we have jaw-to-jaw talk with the employers. So child labor do not exist where trade unions exist.
The Ghana Employers Association has been working with its member companies in developing codes of conduct to eradicate child labor throughout its members' supply chains. So far, 11 member companies are actively implementing the code, and according to the association, about 3 million informal workers in Ghana's vast palm oil sector are affected. One of the most enthusiastic adopters of the code has been Norpalm Limited, which produces crude palm oil for industrial use and the domestic soap market. Ghana Employers Association also made a compelling case for its members, explaining why child labor is bad for business.
Employers must come to a clear understanding that anything that happens in any part of the supply chain will be attributed to them.
Child labor has become an international issue, and so we wish employers to remain. If you are an employer and you want to remain in business, then you must be anti-child labor compliant.
Norpalm organized sensitization and awareness-raising programs not only on the farms, but in the surrounding villages, in cooperation with village leaders.
What the ILO and the Ghana Employers Association was doing, and they understood it and then accepted the challenge. They later accepted and understood the concept and accepted the fact that the children are their own, and therefore they should not misuse them.
In Ghana's cocoa growing regions, the GAWU trade union took a similar approach, using social dialogue, engaging communities and traditional authorities, and organizing farmers into unions and cooperatives. The GAWU approach is comprehensive, from helping organize local clubs which stage dramas explaining the dangers of child labor. More than 4,000 people have benefited from GAWU's initiative in all 7 of the cocoa growing regions. Since the 1990s, GAWU's campaign to eradicate child labor has resulted in 550 children being taken out of child labor on the palm oil plantations and placed in local schools and vocational training.
I was formerly working as a child laborer in the oil palm industry, but GAWU came to educate us and our parents and gave us all that we needed to go to school. I never thought I would ever go to school, but GAWU helped me get all that I needed for school. Now I have completed junior high school and I'm waiting for my examination results.
Employers in Salta, Argentina, have finally broken the long tradition of child labor in the tobacco plantations.
We have eradicated child labor. For us, it's something obsolete.
The Tobacco Producers Cooperative and the Tobacco Chamber of Salta did it with the introduction of new technology and a special program called Harvest Gardens, where children of farm families can be cared for. While their parents work the tobacco fields, the children spend the day supervised by trusted teachers, playing games, getting exercise, and enjoying meals together.
Today we have 350 children in Salta and 300 in Jujuy, which means 650 children altogether. And the engagement we took with the Ministry for Social Development and ILO, which helped us a lot in implementing all the gardens, is that this experience should be extended to other agricultural sectors and not only tobacco.
The Network of Companies Against Child Labor, simply known as the Network, has 90 employers committed to eradicating child labor and works in close partnership with the Ministry of Labor and its National Commission on the Eradication of Child Labor, known as CONETI. For parents like Silvia Bravo, who herself worked the tobacco fields as a child, there's a brighter future for her daughter.
The difference between my childhood and hers is that she's enjoying everything I haven't been able to. When I was young, I had to work. One deals with adult responsibilities. I realize now that I missed many stages of my life. I didn't experience the joy of coming here, sharing and playing with other kids, acting in a play. I didn't do any of that, and she's enjoying possibilities I never had.
In Moldova, the National Federation of Employers in Agriculture and the Food Industry, known as FNPAIA, worked with its members to develop a code of conduct for employers. The code gives employers practical methods to eradicate the worst forms of child labor and helps them comply with national laws preventing minors from working in their enterprises.
The spirit of the code emphasizes that agri-employers have a firm commitment to eliminate the worst forms of child labor in agriculture.
1,500 Moldovan employers, all members of FNPAIA, adopted the Code of Conduct in their own agribusinesses. FNPAIA also did extensive awareness raising to make ordinary people aware of the need for children to be in school and not in hazardous work. The campaign's slogan, "A child's place is at school and a child's work is to study," became known all across Moldova.
I read the Code of Conduct. I know that children should be at school and that they should not be forced to work. The code provides an education framework better suited for our children to learn and become the pride of their families.
India's carpet industry has long been engaged in the fight against child labor, especially among the many small suppliers and subcontractors that depend on the carpet industry. Many companies are fighting back, refusing to work with any supplier or craftsman who uses illegal child labor.
We made them understand very clearly that if those of them who were using child labor continued to do so and we came to know about it, then we would blacklist them.
To enforce their policy, employers like OBD Carpets constantly monitor their tens of thousands of looms and weaving operations across India. The inspectors' detailed audits are based on international labor standards and ILO conventions against child labor. Each supplier knows a company inspector will be showing up, without warning, at least once every 2 weeks. The employers are also funding education for the children of carpet workers. At the Project Mala school in Gurria, all the children's books, materials, and midday meals are free, paid for by employers committed to fighting child labor. Kalu Prasad Patel worked as a carpet weaver as a child, but was eventually admitted to the Project Mala school. Now he's a teacher there.
All our efforts at Project Mala are to ensure the children grow up to be successful individuals, to be doctors and engineers, to make us proud. That is what we expect from our children.
In India's Tamil Nadu state, small repair shops have long used children to perform hazardous work, such as welding. Now, trade unions are using social dialogue to team up with local government and small business owners to fight the worst forms of child labor. One local trade union rescued 95 child laborers in the Erode district and gave them the chance to go to school like other children.
To eliminate child labour completely, the government has to monitor it and be completely involved by giving their 100%. The government of India should ratify Conventions 138 and 182.
All over the world, workers and employers are engaged in this fight to end child labor. Social dialogue has been a key tool to galvanize global attention on the scourge of child labor. This was proven by the unanimous adoption of ILO Convention 182 on the elimination of the worst forms of child labor by governments, workers, and employers. Through social dialogue, the ILO's tripartite constituents are not only able to tackle the causes of child labor, but they're also able to eliminate it in a sustainable manner.
I think we've both learned from each other and managed to create an atmosphere of commitment and trust.
We have to distance ourselves from the paradigm of confrontation, each side being pulled by their own interests. We need to work together with workers' representatives, as well as with governments and international organisms to help in the process.
Trade unions are committed to end child labor, and through social dialogue we are able to achieve two things. I think firstly to ensure the immediate removal of the children in child labor situation, but secondly, of course, it's a possibility in negotiation, in social dialogue, to work on education, to work on wages, on minimum wages, to work on social protection, to work on also the informal economy. So I think there are two elements, two issues where the social dialogue is very important. And we need, of course, the employers, and the employers need us, and we need the governments to work together. And that's why social dialogue is one of the very important success factors, or could be one of the important success factors to the eradication of child labor.
Social dialogue is a force for change, changing attitudes, assumptions, and toward building a more productive, prosperous future for everyone without child labor.
Yes, it's important that a child will go to school because children are the future leaders of the country. Any child who refuses to go to school now can never contribute meaningfully to the development of the country in the future.
As the ILO approaches its next century, governments, employers, and trade unions are continuing their work together and continuing their efforts to eradicate the worst forms of child labor through social dialogue and concrete actions on the ground.